This is Checking In, a show where I, Kaylyn Kyle, check in with familiar names and faces from around the world of sport to say hello, chit-chat about this and that, and discuss the challenges of being housebound. Today, I will be checking in with Jesse Marsch, head coach of Red Bull Salzburg. Firstly, thank you so much for taking our call. I know it's an absolutely crazy time, but where are you at the moment and how are you doing?
Yeah, so I'm at my house in Salzburg with my family. For us here in Austria, it's been about 7-8 weeks since they first started all the rules and regulations, and we're actually now coming out of it. So we've had 3 days of training with our team in the last 3 days, which has been great to get back on the pitch. Things are relatively quiet here, and so hopefully we can move forward in a positive way from here.
So what was the proper protocols and procedures to make sure it was the safety for you guys and the players?
So there's a lot of little things. We've split up our group into 4 groups of 6. You can't have more than 6. The government has dictated almost everything that we can and can't do. So we wear masks in the locker room and in the training center. Our training center is close to our stadium, so we have 2 separate locker rooms for groups of 6 in the stadium setup, 2 separate ones in the training center setup. We have trained 2 groups at a time, but on different pitches. So then we have a morning training with 12 and then an afternoon training with 12. We had to come up with strategies on how to put the groups together and all these kinds of things. But what's probably the most unique thing is in training, they have to keep at least a 2-meter distance. So I've never, I've coached football for a while, but I've never had to try to create training sessions where now you have to keep this distance. So, we've come up with some creative things. We've tried to create sometimes zones on the field where they can't leave or they have to protect or different things, which has been actually kind of fun to come up with creative ways to keep them active and busy and entertained and also working hard.
I want to talk to you about this clip. It went absolutely viral, and it was you giving a halftime speech in a completely different language.
Zu viel Respekt für die Gegner. Zu viel Respekt für die Gegner. Ja, es ist mit dem Ball, gegen den Ball, and mit Fouls. Zu viel Respekt.
So was this important for you when making that leap to Europe to be able to speak the language to communicate with players?
Absolutely. I think it's a big deal. You have to really show that you want to adapt, that you're willing to learn, that you care about the local culture. It's also important for the fans. I learned that in Germany massively, the fan culture there and understanding the difference between Schalke and Dortmund and Cologne and Leipzig and Bayern Munich and Hamburg. It's the cultures of these clubs they're over 100 years old and fans are passed down from generation to generation. So and learning the language is part of that because you really need to, I think, to get to know the people, you've got to be able to communicate with them in their own language. And I've learned also the dialects in Germany, how the dialects in Germany are different than the dialects in Austria. And so, it's a big challenge. I had German class today and it's brutal. It's brutal.
So you're still taking German classes.
Yes.
When did you, how long have you been doing it for then?
Probably so I started in January of 2017. So now we're just 3 years and 3 months or whatever. And, I guess I could say I'm fluent now, but, there's still a long ways to go. But, any of us who have learned another language, it's not easy, especially when you're old and your brain doesn't quite work the way it used to. And German is very structured, but this is also important. The language is so structured and the people are so structured, and it kind of helps you understand how everything fits. So it's been a challenge, but it's also been fun.
Well, I have a lot of respect for you because I can barely speak English most days. So I want to do a little German lesson with you just in case I decide to come out of retirement and I want to go play in Germany. That's never going to happen because I can barely run 20 minutes anymore. All right. Okay. So my first German lesson for viewers tuning in. I want you to translate this to German. Come on, refs. That's a penalty.
Yeah. Come on, Schiri. Das ist so klar ein Elfmeter.
Just sounds so good. Okay. And I feel like there'd be a little bit more anger behind that. Okay. So the next one.
Normalerweise, ja.
Linesman, that's a mile offside.
Okay. Aber wir müssen Kilometer sagen. Yeah, they use kilometers, not miles here.
Okay. Yes.
Ja, es ist normalerweise es ist der Linienschiedsrichter. So they call the assist, they call him the line referee. Linienschiedsrichter, es ist so klar, dass es ist abseits, zumindest in 1 Kilometer.
Amazing. Okay. Get back and defend.
Ja, lauf zurück, muss immer verteidigen in dieser Situation.
Amazing. All right, and my last one. Play it to feet.
Spiel zu Fuß. Aber normalerweise wir sagen lauf, spiel in the tief. That means run, play behind, be aggressive.
Okay, well, I want to ask you this because I know a lot of players back in the day that have gone to Europe, Americans, struggled with the culture and struggled performing. Now that's slowly changed over the years. Now, as a manager, have you ever encountered the skepticism during your time in Europe?
No, for the most part, no. Okay, there have been challenges, I think, but it's also I'm in a little bit unique situation as well because, we're not as officially connected as we used to be between Salzburg, Leipzig, and New York, but the Red Bull family is kind of a big group, and I've met so many of the people in the past and worked with some and then also learning German. So. And then, also success means that people are much more accepting.
All right, now I want to go into an Instagram dive. So I picked out 4 pictures across different Instagram boards, different Instagram teams. And the first one in 2019, 2020, you won Coach of the Year. Now that is such impressive hardware. Firstly, where is that hardware right now? Do you have it with you?
No, I think I have a small, so when we moved to Europe, we got rid of almost everything. And maybe we kept 10 boxes and we put them in our friend's closet. And I would guess that that's there.
This next Instagram photo, they actually put your face on Haaland's body. All right.
Okay.
So what was your experience working with a player of that magnitude?
Yeah, well, when he first came to Salzburg, he wasn't of that magnitude. He was a good young player, talented player. But quite honestly, we have 20 of those players here. It's incredible the job the club does and the scouting team does to go out and find these young talents and put them into our system. But pretty early in preseason, I could tell that Erling was special, and he's incredibly explosive. He's good around the goal. He was scoring goals like crazy in preseason games and training. And so in the end, I think it was more just about kind of trying to understand his qualities as a person and as a player and trying to help him every day to grow and get better within our team concepts.
So you're not really shocked at how much he is shining at Dortmund. Were you expecting that for him just to score goals week after week after week?
Yeah, I mean, after with the 6 months we spent together, it was clear that he was a really good player. And when people would come visit or ask me about our team, I would talk about his special qualities, and I've said it a lot publicly. I've spoken to him about it. It's his personality. It's clearly he has incredible talent, but his personality is really special. He's fearless. His desire to be successful and get better every day. His connection to his teammates. It makes him on almost every level very unique, likable. He's the kind of guy you want to root for.
That makes me so happy that you touched on his character because you can be the best player in the world, but if you don't have that character behind you, it's tough for people to like you and it's tough for people to want you on the team. So I want to jump to this next Instagram one. It was actually this year in Champions League when PSG took on Dortmund and Neymar's team obviously knocked them out and scored, and he celebrated and he did the Erling celebration, legs crossed in the Zen. So obviously, I think you already answered it, but this wouldn't affect a player like him and his mindset moving forward, would it?
No, I think, it's a little bit of a shame for me that it was so necessary. I think for that Neymar felt the need to do something like that. I don't think that Erling has ever disrespected any opponent. And so maybe it was all, misconstrued. In the end, now I think Erling's learning that he's in a bigger world and things are going to continue to be scrutinized more. But it's no problem. He can handle it. He certainly has quality on the pitch. I think he's also shown everybody in Dortmund and in the Bundesliga that he's also a very a quality person. And so, again, he's a great guy. We know his father. His father played football. None of these things are that new. Certainly has to navigate the world, but in the end, he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Okay, my last question about him, because obviously you've coached him, and I think he's a fantastic player. Do you think in the next few years we could see him lifting the Ballon d'Or?
It's certainly possible, just because he can score goals at will. You know, and a lot of it will depend on staying healthy, keeping himself grounded. And then, you know, obviously playing for good teams. There's some rumors going on right now about him going to Real Madrid. We'll see what happens, but the kid has immense talent, and I think that, you know, clearly his future is very, very bright.
Now, my last Instagram one before we let you go, it was you leaving New York Red Bulls. Obviously, your time there, the fans loved you, the players loved you. You're so successful in Europe at the moment, but could you see yourself potentially ever returning back to the MLS?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I say often, I wasn't looking to leave New York. I loved it there. I loved that job. I loved the league. I love that team and organization. It was, you know, in many ways, it's, you know, with the people there, we built something really unique and special, and it feels like my baby. So New York was an incredible time, and it helped me in my career massively, because it was the first big step that I could make as a coach to show my qualities. In the end, I speak to, in this pause here where we haven't been doing much, and we've all had to be at home. I've spoken with a bunch of the players, people at the club, obviously Chris Armas and the coaching staff, and so kept in touch with a lot of different people, and I hold all those people very dear to my heart. So I'm always a New York Red Bull fan for sure, and a big MLS fan. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in the future.
Okay, I need to put you in the hot seat. I know I said I was going to let you go, but could we potentially ever see you coach the U.S. men's national team?
Sure. Listen, I will. I
love
will,
it. I just needed to ask
I will take any phone call from the U.S. national team at any point in time. Seriously,
amazing.
I was an assistant coach. It's an honor to be with the national team. You know, any of us that have been around the U.S. national team, we know how special it is to represent your country. So, I mean, you know, right now I'm a fan, and I'm hoping the best for Coach Greg Berhalter, and they can make a really good push to get in the next World Cup, and then, you know, who knows what happens down the road.
Amazing. Well, Jesse, thank you so much for your time and coming on the show, checking in with myself. It was an absolute pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me.